Isabel, well, I'll just play you this and then we'll have a chat. Check this out.
Calling for inquiries because they want to jump on a bandwagon of the far right, then that affects politics.
No, the reason we're not doing another national inquiry is because there's already been a national inquiry.
Do you want an inquiry or not?
No, Paul, I'm trying to answer your question, and the answer is no. We don't think another inquiry, after all the many inquiries that we've put victims through, is the way to tackle this.
There has been a huge amount of misinformation this week. Sadly, party political misinformation. It is just wrong.
Trevor, what is the most important thing
here?
Of course,
it's the position of the victims.
It is the victims, and it's not people's hurt feelings about how they've been spoken.
However, I think that what I will not let happen is for the far right to use the exploitation of vulnerable girls in this country and what happened in Cologne for their own ends when they've done absolutely nothing about sexual violence and the culture of sexual assault.
I don't know whether you saw the documentary on Channel 4 about rape gangs over
No,
this.
we want to blow that little trumpet now, do we? Yeah,
okay. There was a real issue.
Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we?
Okay, Lucy. Yeah. The council.
Well, those people, Isabel, incredibly, are running the country. So most of those statements that you saw then were straight after January, when Keir Starmer made that extraordinary statement that if you want justice for these 250,000 victims of the rape gang scandal, then you're climbing on board some sort of far-right bandwagon. The rest of his cabinet fall into line. Very strident. No, we don't. You want to know whether we need a rape gang inquiry? No, we don't. And I'll tell you why. That's Lisa Nandy, you know, and so on and so forth. Lucy Powell, the leader of the House, calling it a dog whistle issue. These people are not fit to govern. Why can't they understand, or why couldn't they understand back then in January that the calls for a national inquiry were genuine? I usually hate public inquiries. They're a waste of money, they don't achieve much, and they go on for years and they cost a fortune. But there is every now and again a kind of important issue where we just need one. And I'm afraid that this was a clear example. Everyone in the country knew we needed a rape gang public inquiry, apart from Keir Starmer and the performing seals from his cabinet who just fell into line and did what they're told. What kind of fish do you think they like when we next see them, so we can throw them and see if they, you know, while they go, you know, I mean, it's pathetic, isn't it? It is beyond pathetic, these people.
I strongly suspect that several of those people in the clip we just played there actually did know that we needed a public inquiry, but they didn't have the guts to resign over it, and instead they just chose to toe the party line, and their boss effectively just doesn't have the political antennae, as we were talking about in the last segment. Now all of those that went out and toed the line like that and parroted off all the reasons why we don't need a public inquiry, and everybody was calling for one, must be an idiot and a far right jumping on bandwagon dog whistler. All of those will be pretty fed up, if I can put it politely, with the way Downing Street has handled this, and it may well contribute to Keir Starmer not staying the distance to the next election in number 10. I mean, I watched some of the statement today from Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, and next to her was Jess Phillips. And, you know, I've known Jess for a long time. She has worked very hard over the years for victims of sexual violence. And I have to say, she looked pretty broken today. She really did.
Yeah, she's got what she probably wanted all the way along. And I understand that you have to do what the Prime Minister says. You know, the Cabinet has to be as one and all that. But I don't know what went on behind the scenes, but I think every single one of those people, most of them women, actually, they were all women, weren't they, who should have a particular interest in getting justice for these poor girls, the victims. Every single one of them should have pushed back up against Starmer and said, this is a nightmare. We should not be arguing against a public inquiry into the rape gang scandal, and yet we did, unless we forget, Isabel, apart from that outrageous statement where he labelled, as he's wont to do, anyone who wanted a public inquiry into the rape gang scandal as somebody is climbing onto the far-right bandwagon. It's a pattern, isn't it? Just as he said about the rioters in Southport, they're far-right thugs. Anybody says anything he doesn't like, anytime he is... he believes that someone is maybe right of centre in their politics. Anybody that does anything he doesn't like, he dismisses them as far right. At the very least, hopefully, he will now grow out of this. But this is the guy also that whipped. He basically got all of those Labour MPs, that obscene number of Labour MPs, 410 or whatever it is, to vote against a public inquiry in January. The Tories, to their credit, said we must have a public inquiry into this. Keir Starmer organised it, so all of his MPs voted against it. So to hell with him, to hell with them.
I mean, I'd like to think that he drops this phrase far right, but nothing about his track record suggests any ability to learn that simply saying the same phrases again and again doesn't make things different. I mean, this is, after all, a man who keeps on talking about smashing the vile, people smuggling gangs having smashed...
Evil people. So, they're always evil, always evil.
It's often vile, and it's always the same collection of words, isn't it? And I don't think he is actually going to learn not to smear voters with that label. And that will again cost Labour huge numbers of votes at the next test. It already has cost them an awful lot, I think. Personally, I think Jess Phillips should have resigned when the national inquiry, when the Prime Minister refused to hold one many months ago. I think she'd have looked very principled. And I think she'd have, the outcome will still be the same. We'd still get this national inquiry. And then she could have come back with a head held high.
Absolutely. It was a low point for her. It was a shame. You're right, because she has done a lot of good work on women's safety. And I think she is very committed to that cause. But in the way that these politicians tend to do, she let herself down by just going along with what the boss said. And she should have done more than that. So let me ask the audience, if, like me and Isabel as well, obviously, if you like us, thought that there was a need for a public inquiry into the rape gang scandal, what did you think of the fact that the Prime Minister believes you to be far right, some kind of far right fanatic, that caring for those 250 victims, that wanting justice for those 250,000 victims was somehow or other far right? You're some kind of Nazi for thinking that. What did you think of the Prime Minister labelling you far right because you wanted a public inquiry?